Hey, thanks for stopping by. After a lot of trial and error, I developed a method of making small stone spheres that works for me using tools that I have on hand. Now I'm making a dozen 5/8 inch rose quartz marbles to use for Chinese checkers. This video follows the project from start to finish. Come and see. I start by cutting cubes measuring 3/4 of an inch, or roughly 19 millimeters. Throughout this project, I'll be measuring small changes in size. It's much easier to record and compare sizes using millimeters rather than fractions of inches. My target size is around 5/8 inches, an acceptable range being between 15.6 millimeters and 16.1 millimeters. I decided to make a few aventurine marbles while I was at it. I started with 6 aventurine cubes and 14 rose quartz cubes. Chinese checkers only requires 10 marbles, but I'm making a few extras just in case. This circle template came in handy for sizing the cylinders and spheres. I knew I was finished grinding the cube into a cylinder when the cylinder passed through the 19 millimeter hole. I knew I was finished grinding the cylinder into a sphere when the sphere passed through, regardless of orientation. The first stop for these cubes is a rough grind on a 5-inch grinding disc laid on my flat lap. It's a very aggressive grind, so I only want to round the cube into a rough sphere. If I took it further, I might remove too much material. So far, the process is basically what I learned from the Marble Gems channel. He posted many videos about making marbles. The most helpful for me was how to make an agate marble start to finish. There's a link to that video in the description. Marble Gems recommends grinding the cube into an octagon before grinding it into a cylinder. This is a good idea. By starting with a regular symmetrical octagon, you'll tend to have a well-centered symmetrical cylinder, and a symmetrical cylinder yields a more symmetrical sphere. If you go directly from a cube to a sphere, it might be easier to end up with a lopsided shape. Once you have a 19 millimeter cylinder, you grind off the corners at the top and bottom of the cylinder. Although the grinding surface is very rough, there's not much danger to your skin from an accidental graze. However, it will make quick work of your fingernails. Think of when you use a fingernail file. As you rub it back and forth on your nail, it's also rubbing on your skin, but it only files the nail. Of course, this is a rough surface spinning quite fast. It's still prudent to be careful. Gradually round the corners until you have a rough sphere that'll drop through the 19 millimeter hole. The next step is to improve the sphere with a less aggressive grind. Using a 60 grit metal flat lap disc, I want to reduce the diameter to around 18 millimeters. It takes longer to remove material on the 60 grit, but I have more precise control and I end up with a smoother sphere. Once it drops through the 18 millimeter hole, it's time to set up the hole saw. This is a significant divergence from Marble Jim's process. He has a cab machine with a nice big spinning wheel at the end. I tried his method with other spinning wheels, but I just couldn't make it work. So my next step is a hole saw. The hole saw is even less aggressive than the 60 grit plate. In this stage, I want to reduce the diameter to around 17.5 millimeters. So where it took about a minute to remove 1 millimeter diameter from each sphere on the 60 grit plate, it'll take 5 to 15 minutes to remove 1 millimeter from the diameter of each sphere using these hole saws. Choosing the right hole saw can help. If the bit is too large, it'll grab your sphere and spin it without grinding it. If the bit's too small, there's less grinding surface against the sphere, but it's also harder to keep the sphere in place. The first time I did this, I used my bare hand to roll the stone against the hole saw. After an hour or so, I had worn away some layers of skin on my palm. It was very sore and looked a little bloody. I guess the constant stream of cold water masked the damage I was inflicting on myself. This thin leather glove works out great. Once a sphere drops through the 17.5 millimeter hole, it's time for polishing. Using a tumbler to polish spheres was successful in testing. My tests also showed that a quartz sphere loses a little less than 1.5 millimeters by the time it's shiny. That's why I'm starting the tumble process with 17.5 millimeter spheres. Using a tumbler to polish these spheres was more complicated because I was trying to end up with all spheres being a certain size. 1 week tumbling in a 60-90 grit reduced the diameter by almost 0.5 millimeter. 1 week in the 120-220 grit reduced the diameter by a little more than 1/4 millimeter. All the remaining tumble cycles combined removed about 1/10 millimeter. So after each week of tumbling, I had to measure each sphere and decide whether to run it again in the same grit. A tumbling progress log was very helpful. I'm not going to describe that here. I explained the table in another video. A link to that is in the description. You can also get a copy of the table using a link in the description. In case you're going to do something like this, it could be helpful. It's challenging to measure spheres with a micrometer like this one. None of my spheres were perfectly spherical in the beginning or in the end. I measured several points on each sphere and recorded the average of several random measurements. At first, it was troubling to measure such a variety of diameters on the same sphere. But when I observed the spheres rolling around in a template hole so I could see better how round it was, the irregularities were really undetectable to the naked eye. These spheres are satisfactorily spherical for me. I actually started this project with more spheres. On a few of them, I removed too much material in the grinding stages. If I were to grind the high spots down to correct those spheres, they'd end up too small. I tumbled them anyway, just to see what would happen. I see now that tumbling doesn't do much to change the initial shape of a rock. It just makes it smaller. If it starts as a nice sphere, it ends as a nice sphere. If it starts as a wonky sphere, it'll still be wonky in the end. When the project was finished, I had 12 rose quartz spheres. 3 of them have noticeable flaws. 2 of them have fissures near the surface that makes an unsightly spot. Some might call this bruising, but I always had the barrels pretty full, and it was a smallish barrel running about 42 RPM. I really think it's just bad luck that the fracture is positioned like that. One of them got chipped during the second to last tumble. That was unfortunate. This is one disadvantage to using quartz for this at all. While chalcedony, including agates, is made of the same stuff as quartz, and they're both the same hardness, chalcedony is woven together differently, which makes it tougher. Quartz is a bit more brittle and more prone to chipping. If I were making these spheres to use as shooters in marble games, I wouldn't use quartz. But these will be moved around quietly on a wooden game board. I think they'll be okay. In earlier testing, I included a sphere made of sodalite. It didn't do so well in the tumbling phase. Sodalite is softer than quartz, but I think the main problem is the rock composition. My rose quartz is a homogeneous rock. It's all the same material through and through. My sodalite rock is made up of different materials, probably with different hardnesses and or different toughnesses. These materials seem to wear away at different rates in the tumbler. Sodalite spheres are beautiful, but from what I've seen, tumbling is not a good way to polish them. At last, the polishing is finished. I wish they were a little pinker, but I'm happy with the results.